Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. Now on this month's cover CD you'll find my 3D reflected template, and I'm going to show you how to add your pictures into the template using PaintShop Pro. Now this is the picture I want to put in, so what we need to do is to come up to Edit and choose Copy to copy that picture into the computer memory. Now we can close it down, it's done its job, we don't need it anymore, and we need to open the template. So on the template you can see we have 3 pictures, one at the front, one in the middle and one at the back. Now you could use different pictures in each, but I'm going to use the same picture in all 3. We also have a reflection of each one underneath as well. So let's start by working on the back here. We're going to put a picture onto this one and then build the effect up from back to front. So go to Edit and choose Paste as New Layer. That puts the picture in, but you see it's completely filling the screen. It's way too big. It only has to fit into this picture box there. So let's grab ourselves a different tool. Let's get the Pick tool. If you can't see it, it's often hidden underneath the Move tool, but once you've got the Pick tool, you'll find you have these little corner handles appearing. Grab any of the corner handles, doesn't matter which one, and we'll just drag it in like so. And then grab another one from the bottom right corner this time, and drag that in like that. And then just shuffle it across over there. And let's get it more or less to fit in. That's pretty good. Now that fits into that little box quite nicely, but you see it also spills out into the other 2. Don't worry about that because we're going to cover this up with more pictures. What we need to do next is to add in a reflection, and the reflection needs to go in down here. So back to Edit, choose Paste as New Layer, and this time we're going to make a mirror of this picture. It's going to be a mirror image, a reflection. So come up to Image and, well, careful now, because if you choose Mirror, you're not going to get what you want. That mirrors it horizontally. If you want to mirror it vertically, you need to choose Flip. Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, but that does what it says. It does flip it over. Now again, get the corner handles and shrink this down all the way down somewhere like that, and just drag it into position, which is down there somewhere. But careful now, because we need to make sure that this reflection matches the picture above. Now it's a wee bit on the small side at the moment, so let's just stretch it up until it's the same size like that, and then we'll just move it down there somewhere. Now it doesn't have to be desperately accurate, because when we get to the end of this tutorial, almost all of this reflected area is going to be covered up. You'll hardly see it at all. So a reasonable accuracy is perfectly acceptable. Right, okay, let's do the middle picture of the 3. So back to Edit and choose Paste as New Layer. And again, we're using the Pick tool, but this time we're going to do it slightly differently, because the middle frame and the front frame both have a more 3-dimensional feel. They have converging vertical lines and, well, converging horizontal lines actually. So what we need to do is to change the keyboard shortcut. So hold Shift and Control to change the keyboard shortcut and change the way the Pick tool works. Now you see I can bend this. So make sure we put it on the right frame. It goes on that one. And I'll grab the bottom left corner and bend that one up like that. Now it gets a bit more tricky because we need to move these corner handles for the top right and the top left. So the bottom right and top right. In other words, these 2. And I can't do it because there's no frame to really match it up with. But if I use the big frame at the front as a rough guide, that should be okay, although it will be a little bit stretched out. So because of that, I'm just going to move this middle handle, let go of the keyboard shortcuts, and move that middle handle in like that until it kind of looks right. What you need to remember is that you're not going to see the whole of this picture. All you're going to see in a moment is just that little rectangular area there. So if that bit looks about right, then your picture's about right. Okay, we need a reflection for that as well, so Edit, Paste as New Layer, back to Image and choose Flip, and again hold the Shift and Control and start to drag these corner handles. Now this is probably the toughest bit of the whole template to do, because it's a small area and getting it absolutely right with this Pick tool can be quite tricky. Now that of course needs to line up roughly with that, because it needs to be the same width and the same angle more or less. That's more less than more, but that's okay, that's fine. Now down here is a bit more tricky because those are dropping off the screen. So I'm just going to use the scroll wheel on the mouse just turn it a few times just so I can zoom out, give myself a little bit of working area about there. Again, hold the shift and control and drag these down. Also make sure you put it underneath the right frame. I've done this several times and put it underneath the wrong frame by mistake. There we go. Let's see if we can get these two to line up. I'm trying to look at this path, see if that lines up nicely. And that's worse. That's better. Maybe we'll move this one down. So by moving these lower handles, I can just try and line everything up as neatly as possible. Again, I don't have to be desperately accurate, because in fact on the reflections we're only seeing this bit at the end. But that looks pretty much okay. Right, okay, so we need one more. Let's zoom back in a wee bit. Edit and paste as new layer. And then we'll go again with our shift and control. Drag these in. Now this should be relatively easy, because this frame at the front here, you can see all four corners, no problem at all. So that's too close, I can't see it. There we go. Let's go in there. And in here. Lovely. And that just leaves one more corner to do. Like that. That goes on there. Brilliant. Okay, that's fine. So that's in place. Just need one last reflection. Last time, edit, paste as new layer, then image and flip. And again, hold the shift and control and drag those corner handles down. Now, oh, careful. If you drag it that far, it's not going to work. You can't have a distort that distorts it that much. So around about there is as much as I think I can get away with quite safely. And then do the other side as well. So no rush, take your time, little bit at a time is the way to go. And bring that one in like so. Again, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and then move these in here and this one down there. Now this time I do want to be a little bit more careful on how I line up my footpath here. Now I'm just slightly off there, so I'm going to try moving these handles at the bottom and see if that shifts it along. Yeah, you see that just pushes it just a little bit more that way. So again, although I don't have to worry about being desperately accurate, I'm trying to get that bit as reasonably accurate as I possibly can, because that's going to be the reflection you see most of. And I'm happy with that, that's fine. Right, okay, so now we need to go to the layers. Now we've avoided layers all the way through this tutorial, so we need to open the layers palette, F8 on the keyboard, and you can see how our tutorial and our template are made up. Lots of different layers, but look for one particular one. Look for this one here where it says fade out. You'll spot it because it has a no entry sign over the eye. If you click the no entry sign, it'll turn that layer back on again, and you can see what that layer does. What it does is to add in this kind of faded out effect along the bottom. So now you can see why I wasn't so worried about lining up those reflections so much, because you can barely see them. They're there, but they're there quite subtly. Right, now you could stop there quite happily, but if you want to do something a little bit different, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take each of these pictures behind and give them a slightly different look, so it's not the same picture 3 times over. Right, on my layers palette I need to identify which layer is which. I want to start on this one right at the back, and it should be this one. Good way of telling is just to flick the eye visibility on and off and see what changes. That's the one to use, so click that and it becomes our active layer. Right, okay, so we're going to change it by going to Adjust, Hue and Saturation, Hue, Saturation and Lightness. Now I'm going to get the saturation slider and drag it all the way down to -100, which will make our picture black and white, as you can see on the preview. But I'm also going to increase the lightness to about 30, so it gives a sort of washed out black and white look. Somewhere around about there. See if we can, there we are, spot on. Click OK. Now we need to do the same thing, of course, for the reflection, because whatever you do to the main picture, you must repeat on its reflection. So that's going to be the layer above. Yep, that's the one. And we'll go to Adjust, Hue and Saturation, Hue, Saturation and Lightness. It will remember the last settings you used, so just click OK. Right, now the layer above that is our middle picture here. So again, Adjust, Hue and Saturation, and Hue, Saturation, Lightness. This time, rather than having it all black and white, I'm going to have half black and white, half colour. So saturation at -50 or thereabouts. And the lightness I'm going to change to about 15. Or again, thereabouts, that'll do. And click OK. So that gives it a slightly more washed out one. So each time you come forward, you have more colour on the next picture. But remember to do the same with the reflection as well. Hue and Saturation. And there we go, click OK. Switch that off, and there we are. So there it is. There is our 3D reflected image completed.